Welcome to this meeting of the Community Scrutiny Committee being held on Thursday the 30th of June. This meeting is being webcast with the exception of any business that the committee resolves to exclude the press and public because of the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by the Local Government Act 1972.
Diolch Rhian. Croeso I pawb yma bore yma. Mae'n neis weld cynebau newydd a dwi'n sbio ymlaen I gweithio efo pawb ac croeso I pawb sydd ar-lein hefyd. So, number one, apologies.
The apologies I've received are from Councillor James Elson and Councillor Mervyn Parry. I think before we proceed, just so that people are aware, can committee members just introduce themselves so we know who's in the chamber here in Ruthin and who's joining from home? That's just for the committee members.
We'll start here on the right here. So.
Councillor Karen Edwards, Llangollen Ward.
Cynghorydd Delyth Jones, Ward Tîm Bechel Ebrin a Henllan.
Apologies. Councillor, been so long away. Councillor Brian Blakely, CYTUNWYD Ward.
Councillor Michelle Walker, Treglwell Ward.
And online we've got
Errol Williams, CYTUNWYD Ward.
And I think we've got one more online, have we?
No,
John Harland.
And Joe.
No, John Harland, yeah.
Yeah, online.
Oh yeah, lovely. Great, thank you very much. Thank you for that. And as I say, welcome to everybody. And yeah, this is the start of the community scrutiny meeting, and we look forward to our next 5 years of scrutinising. Thank you. So we've done apologies. Declaration of interest. Any declarations of interest, please?
Just before we ask for that, members will be aware of the requirement under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any business to be considered at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now or as soon as the councillors affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business. All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it is a personal interest or a prejudicial interest, as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the chamber or the meeting for the duration of the business and to take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate and on any vote. If a personal or prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the councillor concerned will be required to complete and sign a declaration of interest form, which you can get from any member of the staff here today.
Diolch, Rhian. Any declarations of interest then, please? No, everybody's quiet. If there is, as we go along, please shout and make it known what it is. Sometimes it doesn't creep up until you're into a conversation, but please let us know. So thank you for that. Urgent matters agreed by the chair. There are no urgent matters agreed by the chair. And I've jumped to one, sorry, I've not been here for 3 months and I seem to have forgotten where I am. So that was 4, actually. We'll go back to agenda item number 3. And appointments of vice chair for community scrutinies. So do we have a nomination, please?
Yeah, can I nominate Karen Edwards as vice chair for the...
Mike, sorry.
Ken, working from home, I believe. Yeah, can I put forward Karen Edwards as vice chair of community scrutiny for the next 12 months?
Thank you, Brian. And can we have a seconder, if we have a seconder? Just unwaith, just.
Oh, that way. GWAHODDIR and WAITH.
Great. Diolch. Do we have any other names for vice chair of scrutiny? No, all quiet. So can we just have a show of hands what we're all happy with Karen to be vice chair? Yeah, that's great. So that's, I think I couldn't see John's. Yeah. Is he there? Is he gone? We lost him. the majority of us, yeah. I think there was one I couldn't see, but everybody else, yeah. So Karen, congratulations, and looking forward to working with you. And I'm going to hand over now. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, can I thank my fellow councillors for giving me the opportunity to speak. I do believe that I have the relevant experience to... Oh, hang on. Oh, I can sit down. Sorry. I believe that I have the relevant experience to enable me to be for the role, having previously been a committee chair when I was a member of Llangollen Town Council. I also have experience of volunteering in my local community, and I'm very keen to use these skills to play an active part in the work of this committee to help the County Council deliver effective and efficient services to our local community. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So we'll go on. We've done a number 4, no urgent matters. We'll go on to number 5, which is the receive the minutes of the community scrutiny held on 10th of March 2022. And we'll go from page 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 19, 20, but 20 is blank. So any matters arising from them? Okay. How are we going to do this? Because only the ones who were there, Brian, Cheryl, I believe, and myself.
Doesn't
yeah.
matter, anybody can vote on them.
Right. Okay. So can we have a proposal what they're
Can I
after?
just say that I put this forward as a true record?
Thank you, Brian. Can we have a seconder, please?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Great. Any matters arising from the minutes, please? No matters arising from the minutes. That's good. So we'll go on to... Yeah, okay. Then you probably continue, but everybody agree what they're correct? Yeah. Can we show our hands just for clarity? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right, so we'll go on to agenda item number 6. But before I start, had a phone call off Jason McLaren, the leader, yesterday. It was really nice of him to ring up to explain why he wasn't coming. We usually ask for lead members to come, but just like to thank Jason for explaining why he couldn't come today. And I know before Wynn's not coming on the second one as well. So usually we like to see lead members here, but they have given me as chair good reason not to be here, so we're happy to go along. So agenda item 6, sorry, is the leader, head of planning and public protection, countryside services, Emily Jones, author, head of planning, public protection and countryside services, and it's the RHYL generation programme on governance. And I know we have Nicola Neal and Gareth Roberts who are here today to give us the document and hopefully answer any questions we have from scrutiny. So welcome, and please fire away.
Diolch, Chair. Thank you. So yes, as the Chair has mentioned, I'm afraid Emlyn Jones couldn't be here today. So my colleague Gareth and I will give you an overview of this paper, and happy to take any questions. So this paper forms part of an annual overview that's provided to community scrutiny on work of the RHYL Programme Board. Now, for the benefits of new members, I'll take some time today to cover the governance and management arrangements that are in place and that form the main body of this report. I'll then hand over to Gareth, who will cover some of the detail of the projects that are underway at the moment that Denbighshire County Council is delivering on in support of regeneration in RHYL. So the RHYL regeneration programme is a piece of work that's been in place for a number of years in RHYL. I should say that the Welsh Government are a really key partner for us in the work that we do under this agenda, and a key investor as well. Regeneration of RHYL has been a priority for the council for a number of years now, largely due to the standing of RHYL in terms of the Wales Index of Multiple Deprivation, where we know that RHYL West 1 and RHYL West 2 are two of the most deprived wards in Wales, and there's also there's a breadth and depth of deprivation in other factors and across other areas of the town as well. Hence why this is a really key piece of work for the council. Already over recent years, you'll know that there has been a lot of work that has already been delivered, particularly along the seafront. Some of the key changes include an update of RHYL Pavilion, the establishment of 1891, the creation of SC2, building of flood defences, and also demolition, rebuild and refurb of some homes as well. That's work that's already taken place, and now the focus of the RHYL programme board really is around work to update and improve the town centre. So as a planning document and a strategic document for the town centre, there does exist a master plan, which is commonly referred to as the RHYL vision. This master plan, or this vision, has been in place now for a couple of years, and it's the culmination of quite a lot of work that the economic and business development team have been leading on. They've undertaken feasibility studies and a lot of consultation with local residents to develop this vision and this plan for the town centre, which is intended to be used as a key document to give decision makers a framework to work to give investors confidence and a vision for how the high street should look in the future, and also to aid developers as well. The programme board is responsible for overseeing delivery against that vision. Now that programme board has been in place for a number of years, but has recently, over the past couple of years, had a bit of a review as well. It's chaired by Denbighshire's Head of Service for Planning, Public Protection and Countryside Services, Emlyn Jones, and is supported by a number of other officers as well, who lead on 5 key work streams. So there are 5 strategic approaches really that are concentrated on in terms of delivering change on the high street in RHYL. So those work streams are around the retail and commercial offer. There's also a work stream around looking at the environment. Queen's Building is a significant project within itself. There's a work stream that looks at the residential provision in the high street, and there's also another work stream that looks at highways and access. So they're all referenced in section 4.5 of the report that you can see before you. Before I talk a little bit more about the programme itself, I wanted to mention another key group that exists to try to help with to alleviate the deprivation in RHYL, and that's RHYL Community Development Board. Now, the RHYL Programme Board, which is the main focus of this paper and this discussion, is an internal Denbighshire group that is there to oversee delivery against projects where Denbighshire is leading. The RHYL Programme Board works within the context of a broader strategic and senior partnership board called the RHYL Community Development Board, whose goal it is to ensure that in the future, none of the lower super output areas, so the in RHYL, are among the top 10% of the most deprived wards in Wales. Just as by way of context, lower super output areas is a really technical term. They're basically subsets of wards which are comparable. Now, I support that RHYL Community Development Board, and I also sit on Denbighshire's internal RHYL Programme Board. So that's how interdependencies are managed between those two governance structures that we've got in place, and we make sure that that there's good communication between those boards, that their work is aligned, and that they're always working towards the same goals. In terms of assurance and accountability, the board's chair works really closely with the council's lead member for regeneration. At the moment, this is the council's leader, and our new leader is not only has regeneration in his portfolio, but also tackling deprivation. So there's a strong link there with this board. Work of the board is also reported to the RHYL member area group, RHYL Town Council, and there's also a RHYL reference group in place, which is a quarterly meeting of politicians in RHYL, and that's not only politicians at a county level, but also a town council level, and it also features the member of the Senedd and the member of Parliament that cover the RHYL area as well. So there's a lot of political oversight, both in as projects are being developed and in the process of being delivered, and also as key decisions are being taken. Okay, that's the overview that I wanted to give you in terms of the how the programme is managed, where it fits in terms of other governance structures that we've got in place. I'll be happy to take questions on that later, because I know it can be a little bit complex. But for now, if I can hand over to you, Gareth, and know that you were going to cover some of the detail of those key projects that are in development at the moment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nicola. Bore pawb. Good morning. I'll just take you through fairly quickly some of the key projects that are currently underway in RHYL. As Nicola said, there's the overarching document that is kind of leading us and directing us is the RHYL Town Centre Master Plan, or the RHYL Vision as it's known, and that that did go through a lengthy consultation process and is a really robust document. It's fundamental for us in the regeneration team, also in terms of it supports our funding bids. So up until very recently, the Welsh Government, in the form of Transforming Town funding, were our main source of capital funding for regeneration. More recently, UK government have come along with their levelling up funding schemes, as I'm sure you're probably aware of, and we are currently putting together a bid for the Vale of Clwyd, which includes some projects in RHYL, which I'll come on to in a sec. But the RHYL Vision document is a fundamental document when we are putting bids together, which shows that we've got a coherent, well thought out, well consulted strategy. So that's our kind of Bible, if you like. Very briefly, some of the key documents I'm referring to Appendix 2 that you have in your pack there, which lists some of the projects. I won't go to the more in detail. I'll just touch on some of the kind of the key ones. Queen's Building, of course, is one of our big ones. It's currently probably our biggest project. Members will probably be aware that we spent some time acquiring that building. Then we've demolished the building, which took longer than expected because of a number of unforeseen circumstances. And we're about to embark on the construction of a new building. That construction process has been delayed. For those who don't know, because of seagulls. So we were about to start construction on the site. We were aware that seagulls were nesting on the old building. When the building was demolished, we assumed those seagulls would move and nest elsewhere. To our surprise, they didn't. Almost overnight, they created nests on the ground where the old building had been demolished. And of course, they're protected. So we've had delayed the construction of the project. But the main contractors have been appointed. I think this week they are setting up site just adjacent, setting up their compound just adjacent to the site. And hopefully the remaining chicks in that nest will have flown that nest in the next week or so, and we can start construction. And that will be to provide a market for food and beverage. So there's a number of these cropping up in town centres across the country, and they're seen as quite an important offer for regeneration. So it'll be an offer of kind of a range of hot food providers, drinks, and some cold food providers. People selling, cakes and this type of thing as well. And that's an offer for the local residents, community, and visitors as well. As part of the same building, there is an event space, which will be used by the operator of that building to kind of drive footfall into the food hall. And that event space can be used for a whole range of things, particularly keen for that to be used for community events. And it may also be used on weekends to have various musical functions, perhaps. During the week or weekends, that there might be specialist markets in there, farmers markets, people selling local produce, this type of thing, all to help drive footfall into the food and beverage offer. So big project for Denbighshire, big project for RHYL, really exciting project. We've got a consultant on board who's helping us with the contract to procure the operator for that site. Denbighshire won't be operating the site, it'll be done by a private operator. We will hopefully be going to tender for the operator within the next month. They will be appointed before the building is finished. And so hopefully they will be able to set up the internal governance and identify traders for that site in time for the building construction being completed, and then will open then simultaneously. So hopefully we won't see much of a gap between the building being constructed and it then being operational. Hopefully it should be seamless. So that's kind of the north end of the high street. Just skipping to the kind of bottom of the table in Appendix 2 there. There's a project item 13 in that table. We're calling it Gateway 1 and 2. So this is the south end of the high street, adjacent to Brighton Road, opposite the bingo hall there. Denbighshire have acquired the block at the bottom of the high street, the bottom left of the high street as you're facing Vale Road Bridge. That will be a scheme. We will redevelop that site. We are currently working on some options and ideas for that site that we will bring out to consultation, starting with we'll go through a comprehensive consultation process on that scheme. Whilst we were doing our due diligence in terms of the acquisition, it was identified that one of those buildings in particular was in a particularly dangerous condition, and the consultants couldn't guarantee its stability for any period of time. So we had to, at very short notice, demolish one of those units. And that caused a little bit of an issue on the bottom of the high street because we had to close the street, and it wasn't a great time for those traders in that part of the time. Unfortunately, the building was kind of pretty much imminently dangerous, so we had to take that down, and we didn't have an awful lot of time to plan. Whatever work we do to the rest of that block, it will be planned and managed and consulted, so we won't have the same, hopefully the same inconvenience that was caused when we had to demolish a single building. So that's kind of at the opposite end of the high street. In between, you'll see item 11, public realm strategy. Well, we've developed a strategy for the public realm, but more than that, we've got some indicative schemes to replace the public realm in RHYL High Street, and that will form part of our levelling up funding bid, which I mentioned earlier. That will link into item 9 on that list there, which is the reconnection of the top of the high street on the beach. That was something that came out quite strongly in the engagement for the real vision, which you mentioned earlier. And that reconnection in the high street, again, it links with the public realm refurbishment of the high street, and also forms part of our levelling up funding bid for the Vale of Clwyd. So there's kind of a cohesive package of schemes there for the real town centre. There's still much more work to do, of course. You know, we need to look at the shop fronts, and there'll be grant aided schemes from Welsh Government to look at shop fronts. That will go hand in hand with enforcement activity. So, you know, a concerted effort and a coordinated effort in terms of enforcement on that high street to empty buildings in poor condition, buildings that don't comply with various planning criteria in terms of signage, etc. So all that package together is designed to hopefully to improve the offer of the high street. Just a couple of other schemes to mention. Just beyond the high street, we've got, there's a item 6, you'll see there, 45 and 49 Bath Street. Again, Denbighshire acquired those buildings. They were houses, multi-occupation flats, and they were clearly visible from the Morley Road car park. Now, they were a block of units that were really problematic. Some of the tenants that were occupying those properties were causing lots of problems in the community. The landlord had no control over those buildings, and the amount of resource that was going into those buildings in terms of Denbighshire County Council and North Wales Police in particular was a huge resource implication. And notwithstanding that, they were particularly unsightly from, you know, one of our main car parks of town. So those buildings have been acquired and are now being converted and renovated by Denbighshire Council, and will go back into Denbighshire County Council's housing stock. Some other housing schemes you can see there on contemporary living, another scheme in the high street to develop the former Next and Granite store in the high street. That's about trying to raise the bar in terms of the offer of rented accommodation rule to try and attract some people with more spending power, who will then spend that money in the high street, in the Queen's Building, and other offers in the town centre. But also, of course, you know, social housing equally is important. So schemes in Edward Henry Street, Aquarium Street, around a combination of improving social and private housing there. And the last scheme I mentioned is just mention the green infrastructure. So clearly, climate change, biodiversity, really important part of the work that we do, and the number of schemes that we have carried out in and around real town centre. So examples can be seen right at the end of that document. We've got some photographs there of some of the green infrastructure work we've done in Crescent Road car park, for the Lass, and not shown there, but we have done some work around the West Cumberland Street car park with some greening, some more trees, wildflower turf, and planting around that area. I think I'll leave it there, if I may, Nicola, Chair. It's a lot of information there. I'm happy to take questions on that later, or to go into any of those projects in more detail if members would like more information. Back to you, I think, Nicola. Sorry, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth, and thank you, Nicola. It's quite a lot of information on there, and yeah, I was in RHYL on Tuesday, and you know, I've been here 10 years, and I've worked with the Strategic Investment Group, and I can honestly say I'm really proud of what's been done in RHYL. I think the place has really has altered for the best, and yeah, I'm really proud to say what I've been a part of that as well. You're doing an amazing job down there, but I'm only the chair, and I'm sure there's going to be questions from within the group. So I'll take questions within the group first, and then we'll go out after. Can we stick to what we're scrutinising today? I don't want to go off course. If you go off course, we'll stop you and pull you back. Brian, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, Stephanie and Gareth, thank you very much for this paper. A lot of information on there. A lot of hard work's been done, but a lot of extra hard work to be done. One of my concerns, and I've noticed that we have the local member Jones on here, and I'm sure that she'll be coming in after. She knows a lot more about this than I do, being a ward member. One of my concerns is the Woolworths buildings at the top of the high street, with the state of the building up above the shop itself, and all the other buildings down there, that a real eyesore. I would say the hanging branches of Babylon that hanging from the gutters. Also, we have a main problem to do with the barrier into the high street, both ends, which is not working. And it's a nightmare where traffic is allowed to come in to go to McDonald's, and they're there every day causing a problem for the pedestrians. It's no longer pedestrian free. The vehicles are literally pulling up, parking, having their engines running while people are doing the shopping at McDonald's. It's a bit of a nightmare. Are we looking at that? Are we going to do something with that? You know, to try and keep our high street free. And as I mentioned before, regarding the buildings themselves, a real eyesore, people coming into RHYL straight into the high street, and the high street's in a bit of a mess. They see that, and it's really giving RHYL, you know, a bad press. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. It's contradicting what I've just said. What the place is looking really good, but yeah, you live. I know. But I'm really proud of RHYL, and I know where you're coming from. Gareth, do you want to answer that, or Nicola? There's a few questions. I know some of it could have gone to the RHYL mags, but I'm being kind today and to Brian. So yeah, if you could answer that, if possible.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to pick that up. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, no, I agree entirely what you're saying. Yes, we have done a lot of good work in RHYL. Yes, it is looking better, but of course, we've still got a huge amount of work to do there. In terms of the barrier, the parking, yes, that's been an issue. I know Mike Jones in our traffic team is looking at that, has been looking at that, and is about to introduce a temporary barrier to try and improve systems and try and reduce the number of vehicles in the town centre there. We have added our traffic and parking enforcement guys have been increasing their patrols in that area, but of course they are a relatively small team covering the whole of the county, so they can't be there permanently, and it seems to be soon as they disappear, the traffic is back again. So Mike is introducing a temporary barrier there, but has also engaged a consultant to look at a more permanent solution. The barrier at the moment will be temporary whilst they work with a consultant on a more temporary solution. So that is being looked at by Mike in our team. In terms of the Woolworths building, yes, I agree. I think that's probably the last biggest eyesore that we have. You know, there are a number of smaller ones, of course, around the town centre, but in terms of impact, that's a big one. It looks poor. You know, the upper floors are empty. I actually went round there probably 6 weeks ago with the owner, and it's huge. The building upstairs, the upper floors, it's a vast space, and I hadn't realised the building was actually purpose built for Woolworths back in, I think they said 1950s, I think it was. But it's a huge floor space. The owner did seem quite responsive. He seemed quite, whilst he's not a local resident, to be fair, he seemed quite attuned. He was very aware of the work that's going on in RHYL. He seemed very keen to do something with that building. We recommended that he employed somebody of a surveyor, evaluation, a marketing type company to survey the building and to identify options for use for the upper floors. You know, could it be used as a hotel? for example, would there be interest for that? Could it be used as a, I don't know, a Primark type shop in terms of its layout and its floor space? And to be fair, he's acted upon that, and I understand he has engaged, employed somebody to do some kind of feasibility on that building. We had some reports of some loose glazing on the front of that some weeks ago, so we contacted them. I think Planning Enforcement and Building Control had contacted them. Again, to be fair to the owner, he responded really quickly. He was concerned that he didn't want any dangerous glazing in the front of that building. As any responsible owner, you would hope. He employed a company to go and survey the glazing to ensure that it was safe, and it wasn't going to form a danger to the public below. So yes, we'd like him to act quicker, but he does seem to be taking our advice. He does seem to be willing to work with us, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll continue to work with him. That's our next, I think, one of our next big projects to tackle. It is unsightly and it does need addressing, but just to reassure members, we are onto that, and we are working with the owner as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth. Brian, are you happy with that response?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it does relate a lot of problems that we get from the local residents. As I said, you walk into the high street and the first thing you see is the Woolworths buildings. If you live your eyes above the shop fronts, then this is a bit of a nightmare. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Gareth.
Any other questions from members within the group? Delyth, diolch. Ti'n mynd i siarad Cymraeg?
Gai ddech yn fawr iawn yn y lle cynta i'r swyddogion am ei gwaith ac am egluro'r prosiect i rwy'n sy'n newydd yn y rôl yma felly. So mae'n braf iawn gweld gymaint o waith cadarnhaol yn digwydd yn yr RHYL. Fel rwy'n gath i magu yn nisart RHYL oedd y lle oeddwn i'n mynd trwy'r adeg. Felly mae'n braf gweld hynny'n digwydd i'r RHYL. Ond mae jyst un o ddau bethau yn codi o'r hyn oeddech chi'n dweud. Oeddech chi'n sôn y nifer o weithiau ynglyn â'r grantiau ar gyfer codi'r gwastad ydy'r gobaith o ran yr arian cyllidau ar gyfer y prosiectau yma. Pa mor hyderus ydych chi yn teimlo ynglyn â bydd y grantiau yma yn cael ei pasio ar gyfer y prosiect, ac os nad ydyn nhw'n dod trwad, oes gendych chi syniadau eraill ynglyn â sut i gyllido'r gwaith wrth symud ymlaen?
Diolch. Thank you, Chair. I don't have my translation working, but so apologies. I do understand Welsh. I can't speak Welsh. I perhaps lack confidence to speak in Welsh, so apologies, Delyth, if I respond in English. Dwi'n meddwl i da beth da chi di ofyn, ond yeah, I don't have the confidence. I'm sorry to respond in Welsh. To respond in English, that's okay. The main grant application at the moment is the levelling up funding to the UK government. That is for the Vale of Clwyd constituency, and it's the total value of 20 million. Around about 10 million of that is for projects in and around RHYL town centre. We have a consultant working with us to support that application. I would say we are very confident. It's a strong, cohesive bid. It tells a story. The consultants think it's a good bid. James Davies, the MP, is very supportive of the bid. Obviously, he's now sent his letter of prioritisation support for the levelling up funding bid. So as an office level, I would say we are confident it's a good, strong, cohesive bid. But who knows? You know, it's the decision is made in Whitehall, and who knows what that decision will be. There is a scoring criteria, so in terms of our bid, we're looking to actually address those elements that are scored, and I think we've done that quite well, or very well. But who knows? Fingers crossed, really. Plan B, if that's not successful, Welsh governments have always been, you know, up until levelling up funding, our main funders, and Welsh governments still have funding there. We, whilst it might not be to the value of the levelling up funding, there is still Welsh Government funding for Transforming Towns. They are very much part of our RHYL programme board. We work very much in partnership with them. They are cited in all our projects. And they understand that, you know, we're kind of playing a game in terms of we're putting some funding into an application to adding up funding, but if not successful, we may go back to them. We've been open with them about that, and you know, they understand that. So the Welsh Government funding is still there, and we're still working with them in terms of applications. We've also got shared prosperity funding, which is available currently. That's predominantly, you know, focusing on revenue type projects. But in future years, there will be more capital projects available, hopefully through shared prosperity. That's another option for us, and maybe even further rounds of levelling up funding. Diolch, I hope that answers the question.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Diolch yn fawr, mae hynny'n ddefnyddiol iawn.
Diolch.
Diolch, Delyth. Diolch, Gareth. Any other questions within the group? Cheryl's got a hand up, sorry.
Yes, it's not necessarily the high street, and my phone rang when you mentioned the last thing to Brian, so I missed what you said there, Gareth, of the owner with the glazing. But I wanted to mention this. I think Joan may already know because I made sure it got through to her. But just on Sussex Street there, just slightly away from the high street, there's a shop, a spa shop, where the sign is hanging down. So I'm not sure if you can deal with that or whether it's going to be enforcement, but I just felt it was a danger to the public with it hanging down.
Thanks, Cheryl. Can you take that outside the meeting? But thanks for highlighting it. I'm sure Gareth or Nicola will take that on board with you outside the meeting. But thank you, Gareth, Nicola. What's the biggest threat you've got to all this great work you're doing? We're looking at price increases on everything. We look at what do you see the biggest threat on the the price of building materials going up and everything?
Yeah, where do we start with threats, Chair? Yeah, Brexit, the war in Ukraine, COVID, inflation. I think the biggest challenge are those challenges that are kind of beyond our control, national challenges that I think everyone faces, as well as, of course, declining high streets and the changing high streets. I think I read only this morning that is it Wigan? I think all major stores are pulled out of Wigan town centre other than Primark. So the challenge we have in RHYL are not unique to RHYL, not unique to Denbighshire. They are the national challenges. So all we can do is work as best we can in partnership with other agencies, other partners, Welsh Government, UK Government, local agencies, local partners, third parties, to try and look up other offers of the high street. Retail, high streets were predominantly retail for many years. That's probably less so now. But it's identifying what our high streets need to be in the future and animate those spaces and increase footfall to serve the businesses out there and help those survive and thrive, really.
Thank you, Gareth. I think Queen's Market is a good example of the future coming in. Definitely, it's quite exciting, that is. So, anybody else within the group who would like to ask a question? I have got some hands up outside. Oh, sorry, Nicola. My eyesight's not that good. So, Nicola, sorry.
No problem. Yes, I just thought I'd respond to your question, Chair, from a community point of view as well. Gareth talked more from a capital and a build side, but I think some of the challenges that will be faced will certainly be the impact of the cost of living pressures that people are facing at the moment, both in terms of food, fuel and energy. They're certainly high on our agenda and our radar at the moment. With those pressures comes increased pressures on job availability and income levels. These are the kinds of things that that we need to improve, really, in order to address deprivation in the long term. We've seen recently that the pandemic is likely to have exacerbated deprivation, particularly in terms of, for example, skills attainment and educational attainment among young people. Our prediction is that the deprivation that existed before is likely to have widened as a result of the pandemic, and we're not quite sure how long it might take to close that gap and to catch up. And certainly from a community point of view as well. And I mentioned the Wales Index of Multiple Deprivation, and just wanted to make the point and make the committee aware that health is one of the most prevalent issues and topics of deprivation across the town as well. So they're, from a community and a residential point of view, some of the key challenges. Diolch.
Thank you, Nicola. Great, thank you. Any more speakers from within the group? No. Yeah, Delith, eto. Yn eisiau Cymraeg, diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn am y sylwynau. Dwi'n gobeithio bod chi'n deall ac yn cael y cyfieithiad yn iawn. Ond o'n i'n edrych ar rhai o'r pethau oeddech chi'n egluro ynglyn â'r anheddau, a'r tai, yr fflatiau sy'n cael eu creu. A mae'n cyfeirio at rhai intermediate. Fyswch chi'n gallu egluro be mae hynny yn ei olygu? Os gwelwch yna.
Diolch, anffodus, dwi dal ddim yn gallu...
Don't worry, I'll rephrase this.
No, sorry, I think I understand. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. I'm trying to speak more Welsh, really. I just lack the confidence. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Nobody's going to judge you.
Yeah. No, yeah, thank you. Intermediate rank, we have three kind of, very generically, as I understand it, three type of rent levels. So you have market rent, which is demand and supply and set by a private landlord, and the market will dictate that particular rental level. You will have social rent levels, which are rent levels set by housing associations and local authorities. And then the intermediate rent is something kind of in between, where it's not social housing rent. It's not left to the market. It's kind of set somewhere in between social rent levels and market rent levels, is my understanding. I don't know if Nicola knows any more than that, but not really my area, Derek, but I think that's my broad understanding of it. Does that make sense?
I can think about it more. Whether a study has been looked at that these, properties will be hitting the markets and the need within that area.
Yeah, well, I think I'll come back to you outside the meeting. That's okay. I'll speak to colleagues who are leading that particular project. But my understanding is, yes, they have done the research and they are trying to target a particular market where there's a gap in that particular market in real at present. But I'll come back to more detail. That's okay.
Okay, that's what I was getting at, really, just to make sure that we are targeting these to the correct needs within the areas now.
Yes, they are targeting where there are gaps. There's a lack of provision of intermediate rent properties, and that's the target market that they're aiming for.
Okay, yeah, diolch.
Diolch, Delith, diolch, Gareth. I've got next speaker is John. I think I pronounce it. Is it? Thank you, John.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's John. Yeah, full name Jonathan, but everybody knows me as John. Yeah, Gareth was talking about the and Brian referred to it, the barriers in real high street. If I can just add a little bit to that, and Nicola talks about the cost of living crisis. Well, of course, one of the cheapest ways to avoid paying more for fuel, for instance, is to actually walk or cycle into the high street. And if these barriers are not being managed properly, to keep a crucial part of that is to keep cars off the high street, because people will not walk into that environment if they perceive it to be dangerous in any shape or form, or cycling either. So, but by doing so, because the regular car journeys on average are less than 2 miles, people are driving quite short distances into town when they could actually walk or cycle, perhaps. you know, to do that, we need to have an encouraging environment for them to do it, and you know, it saves them money as well.
Thank you. I think Gareth's answered that question, but thank you for the question. But I think Gareth's already answered it, and they are looking at these temporary barriers. So I'm sure if you take that up in the RHYL mags, and you'll get that information there. So was there a second question that I missed there, just about the I think it was all linked into one really, with, you know, we're all food poverty, energy poverty. So I'm not sure, Nicola, did you want to add to that, or are you already covered that?
I feel that that's been covered, Chair, but happy to expand on anything if anybody would like to.
John, are you happy with that, or?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, thanks very much for that.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to move on to a patient lady who's been sitting there. Joan Butterfield, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's kind of you to let me come into this debate. I'm not a member of your committee, but obviously because it's a real issue, and regeneration and density issues, it's very, very close to my heart. I have to say that I'm finding it very difficult to hear the chair in the county hall. I'm not sure whether it's just my microphone that's not picking it up, but I'm finding it really difficult to hear what the chair is saying, but that could be just my machine, and I do apologise, Chair, for not catching everything that you've said. Going back to the report that's been given this morning, I am appreciative, very appreciative of as ward member for this report. And it is very comprehensive. I am a little concerned that a lot of the things in the report are historical now. And do feel that we should be cutting away from any report that we're given from this particular council now that has started, should have been cut away, and we should be dealing with.
Joe, you're not coming over quite clear.
Am I not? Sorry. Is that better? I'm speaking up.
Yeah, thank you.
I am speaking up, Chair. Okay, what I was saying was that I'm thanking the officers for the very comprehensive report that they put forward this morning. But it does concern me, perhaps, that we've got an awful lot of historical stuff in this report. On the housing and stuff like that, things that have already happened and have been very much appreciated in the regeneration schemes in FRIL that have already come to fruition and have been appreciated. The Queen's Building, of course, I believe is one of the most important pieces of regeneration that has happened in Denbighshire. My reasoning behind that is that it will benefit the whole of Denbighshire, and it will certainly be complementary to the regeneration of FRIL. But looking at the master plan for RHYL, the vision for RHYL, I think that there are other opportunities now, and I believe that not revisiting levelling up and things like that, the issues that are already in the pipeline and have been, the schemes have been looked at and passed by the past council. But I do believe that we really should be revisiting, it should be quite a live document, should the vision for RHYL and the master plan, because there are different, obviously, the monies that are coming in from the levelling up, but I do believe we've also now got the RHYL bid, and the RHYL bid should be used for the town centre. And looking at the what was spoken of as the eyesore sites in RHYL, bingo hall, the old Woolworths building, being the one that Brian and other members have highlighted, and certainly officers have accepted, is quite clearly an eyesore site. I think to say that the owners were not aware that the windows were falling out of the building when they actually moved in some years ago, when 15 years ago, when the bingo hall stopped operating from there, the windows were falling out then and were taped in and have been taped in ever since, and have been, and not just an eyesore, but I mean, I'm sure the owners of the building now were quite aware when they purchased. So to say that they are doing a survey now, when it's coming to the end of their lease, seems a little late. So
Sorry,
what
Joe.
I would like to
Joe.
suggest,
Joe.
Chair, if I may.
Joe, yeah, can I just stop? We've covered that, and I would really like.
No. What I would like to suggest, Chair, if I may, if you just give me a moment, is that I think that there should be a whole survey, and that could be in partnership with the RHYL to survey the whole of the town centre, and we just to walk around and see the evidence that there are severe problems with an awful lot of the buildings in town centre. So I would like to suggest that perhaps the officers, through your good office, perhaps look at doing a whole survey in partnership with the RHYL to survey the whole of the town centre and to establish the worth of the buildings before we start putting a lot of levelling up money into them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Joan. Yeah, thank you. I really, I thank you for that comment. I don't really want the officers to respond to that because I'd like you to take it to your real mags. We're here to look at the governance of the plan. But thank you, Joan. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, how passionate you are about RHYL as well. So thank you. Any more speakers before we go on to the recommendation? Everybody quiet. Right, so we'll go to the recommendation. Recommendation item number 3 is that the committee considers the contents of the report and provides observation and matters reported herewith. So that's the recommendation. I would like to add that it comes back in 1 year's time for us to revisit. So is everybody in agreement with that? And can I have a proposer and a seconder? We've got Brian and
I'll do it.
Brian's daughter. Shell, thank you. Can you?
Is that not too late? Would it be better to come back within 6 months?
Can I just take some advice of Nicola, Neil and Gareth, please?
Yeah.
If they're really being very contentious.
I would tend to suggest that an annual review is a good juncture in order to ensure that we've had opportunity to progress a number of issues, a number of projects in that space of time. Sometimes very frequent reporting can sometimes not be so effective. I know that for example, the Queen's Building, I think, is reported to Cabinet, the progress of that quite frequently. Is that right, Gareth? So individual projects within this programme of work do have more frequent and more intermittent oversight. This paper being particularly about the governance, and if that's the topic, then I would tend to recommend that 12-month interval is a useful review time, but happy to leave that to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. RHAN wants to come in, please.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, the Queen's Market Project Board, there is a member from the RHYL Mags sits on that board. There's also a representative from another part of the county via scrutiny sits on that board as well. So if there are problems, there's a process via the scrutiny chairs group where you could escalate the problem up to scrutiny if it occurs. And the same for any member, really. If there's a specific aspect of it which you feel merits scrutiny before the end of the 12 months, you can do it via the scrutiny proposal form to scrutiny chairs and get it on the agenda that way.
Thank you. Thank you, RHAN. Thank you. So I've got Steve Gard patiently sitting there. Steve.
Diolch, Chair. Yeah, just back on what Nicholas said. Yes, the monthly Cabinet Finance report has updates on all the capital schemes, or the major capital schemes, and obviously Queen's Buildings is one of our major capital schemes. So there's a monthly update that goes to Cabinet then. So obviously, you can attend Cabinet and obviously see the papers. So that comes monthly as well.
Thank you, Steve. So we've had a proposer, we've had a seconder. It's Brian and Shell. Can we have a show of hands what are all in support of this, please, to come back in 12 months' time? Yeah, thank you very much. Everybody in agreement? Yeah, John, you voting, John? Yeah, thank you. Right, all that's great. Nicola, Gareth, always a pleasure to see you. Keep the good work up, and we'll see you in 12 months, if not seen before. So swiftly going on to agenda item 7, which is the lead member is Wimon James, but unfortunately she wasn't well, so she couldn't come here today. And the report author is Lara Griffiths. So I think, and Angela, sorry Angela, I missed your name off there as well. So I don't know, is it a duo, Angela and Laura? Do you want to kick off?
Thank you very much. Bore-da pawb. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, a bit of a double act with myself and my colleague Lara Griffiths. So I'll do a quick introduction to the report, and Lara is here to help with any questions. We've also got Paul Barnes and Leah Gray here to help us if there's any questions regarding council tax. So you've got a few of us here this morning. Just a bit of background to the report that you've got in front of you. It's come about following a notice of motion to council. This was actually back in December 2020. And at that point, council agreed that the matter should be presented to scrutiny for discussion. The concerns were about the planning legislation and the requirements of planning legislation in relation to second homes and short-term holiday lets. The report outlines the current planning powers that we have available to control the development of holiday accommodation. Now, many forms of a holiday accommodation, such as hotels, caravan parks, holiday pods, conversion of buildings to holiday accommodation actually require planning permission. We've attached the relevant local development plan policies as Appendix 1 to your report. Now, these types of accommodation have limited impact on the housing market. I suppose the main area of concern is the use of current dwellings as holiday accommodation. So in Appendix 2, you've got the numbers of second homes and holiday homes in Denbighshire, so that's attached as Appendix 2. Now, currently, you can use a property which is a home as either a second home or a short-term holiday let without the need for planning permission. So therefore, at the moment, there's no planning powers currently to control this. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of concern about this nationally, UK-wide, especially though in Wales, and Welsh Government have been reviewing the situation regarding second and holiday homes, in particular the impact on affordability of housing, the impact on communities, and impact on the Welsh language, and they're looking at a three-pronged approach. So this is made up of extra support in relation to affordability and availability of housing, so making more funding available to support that. Also looking at the regulatory framework, and that's where planning comes in, so looking at planning law and potential changes, and also looking at a statutory registration scheme for holiday lets, and also looking at the taxation system. And the feeling is it needs to be a comprehensive package of measures. It can't be just one of those things to address the issue. So as part of this, Welsh Government recently consulted on introducing a new use class for second homes and holiday lets. So that would mean people would have to have planning permission to change the use to those things. There's a bit more information in Appendix 3 that sets out the Welsh Government press release relating to this. So the consultation has taken place. We haven't got a date yet as to when Welsh Government will be reporting back on the consultation and making any changes. Although we have heard that they're aiming to speak to the Minister this month with sort of initial, well, not much this month left actually, so I'm not sure if that's happened, but they'll be talking about what the options are for moving forward. Obviously, it may take some time for that to feed through and become public. Changes to the used classes order would require a change to secondary legislation. So at the moment, there's no scope for Denbighshire County Council to do anything unilaterally that would introduce a new planning requirement, as it requires a change to national legislation. Not part of the Welsh Government consultation, but something that's a strongly and widely held view is that Welsh Government should perhaps go further and consider defining a move of a property from a main resident to a holiday let or a second home as development, and that's the route that has been happening in Scotland. That's the approach they've taken there, and that would require a change to primary legislation, and certainly that's been fed back to Welsh Government by a number of authorities as part of the consultation. So planning alone has got quite limited powers to regulate, both at the moment but also in the future. And as I said before, I think the key message is there's got to be a coordinated approach across a number of areas. So it's taxation and licensing as well, along with new planning requirements that may help control this type of change in the future. So once the results of the Welsh Government consultation on that package of measures suggested is received, we'll make sure that members are updated. But obviously at the moment we don't know what that's going to be. We've not had confirmation of that. So that was my brief introduction. Obviously we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Angela. Laura, is there anything you want to add to that, or you're happy it's been covered?
I'm happy that's been covered. I'm here really to help with any questions.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's quite an important subject. This really, it's. I look at my hometown, Marithin, and I see dwellings being used for Airbnbs. How do the planning authority of Denbighshire speak to when they give planning to a static caravan? Do they speak to the rates people and say this has now become business and it should be rated? I don't think they do. Is that something anybody can answer?
That may be something our colleagues can help out with. So I know Paul Barnes is in the meeting, so whether he can assist with that.
Okay, we'll come back on that after then. So we'll go to questions within the group. Any questions from within the group, please? Yeah, Delith, please.
Diolch yn fawr iawn am gyflwyno'r papur I ni. Mae hwn yn faes, fel ydych chi'n sôn, Mr Cadeirydd, yn faes allweddol bwysig I ardaloedd yng Nghymru ar sawl lefel yn dydi o ran yr economi, yr effaith ar y dreftadaeth, ar Gymraeg ac ar yr ardaloedd gwledig. So dwi'n meddwl bod yn rhywbeth hanfod o bwysig I ni edrych arno fo. Oeddech chi'n sôn bod yna ymgynghoriad gan Llywodraeth Cymru. Di hwn yn, sori, alla fi sydd ddim wedi deall, ond ydy o'n ymgynghoriad agored? Oes na le I ni fel cynghorwyr unigol, neu ydy'r cyngor sir yn ymateb i'r ymgynghoriad gan ddatgan I barn amdano fo?
You want to take that? Laura, do you want to take that?
Yes, I can take that. The consultation has actually closed. It closed back in February. I think, as Angela mentioned, I think certainly Welsh Government officials are getting very close to reporting back to the ministers on the consultations. We understand there has been an awful lot of responses received, probably far in excess than might be normally expected for a Welsh Government consultation, which again, I think highlights the importance of that issue. What I would suggest as well, obviously, you know, through Senedd members or self, you can make your views known and feed them back into Welsh Government that way. And also when the results of the consultation come out, often we do go back to Welsh Government and report on our thoughts on maybe their draft proposals and things. So there will be future opportunities to have an input.
Did we as a county, sorry Laura, did we as a county put a response in?
We did send an informal response from members, yes. I think it fell at the time coming towards the election, so it wasn't formally endorsed by the council, but an informal officer response has been sent, yeah.
Okay, Delyth, ti eisiau dod nôl?
Wel, dwi'n eitha siomedig bod o ddim wedi cael ei ddod i'r aelodau, fel bod cyfle i'r cyngor roi ymgynghoriad ar rhoi ymateb i hyn, achos mae o'n faes allweddol iawn. Yn enwedig i ni yma'n Sir Ddinbach, mae gennym ni gymaint o'r ardaloedd gwledig a gallu'n effeithio yn sylweddol arnyn nhw. So dwi'n eitha siomedig bod na ddim cyfle wedi bod i ymateb llawn gael ei wneud i'r ymgynghoriad. Ond diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Delyth. I don't know if you want to respond to that, Laura.
I'd just say the consultation closed back in February, so it was some time ago on that, but I can feed that back to who was handling the consultation, yeah.
I just, well, there's no speakers put their hands up at the moment. I just look at my hometown of Ruthin now, where I can probably name 10 houses which are used for Airbnb, which is taking people out of the housing market. I've had Airbnbs as in the static caravan and on the farm. I no longer have, so I don't have to declare an interest. And you know, they do spend money within the economy. Then I've got a planning application in for some pods now, where we need this balance of people being able to buy houses and people who are investing in the tourism industry. There needs to be a balance, and hopefully Welsh governments will come up with this. Now, would these people probably, I'm probably trying to guess an answer here, the people who have maybe 10 houses in Ruthin with Airbnbs, would they be exempt, or would they have to go in for planning permission? And if somebody could answer the question I put forward before, do planning talk to the rates people, the business rates people, please?
Well, I think I can come back on the planning permission thing. I mean, at the moment, you don't need planning permission. That's the key thing. And the reason we've sort of pushed as officers that maybe Welsh Government should look at changing primary legislation rather than secondary is that you know, a change of use can be a matter of degree, you know, which is the greater use of the property. If a property is only let out for a couple of months a year and maybe used for something else or as a main home, then that can be difficult to establish. Whereas if it's defined as development, then using it at all as a holiday let would become a requirement for planning permission. I mean, one of the things, you know, talking about looking at it in the whole is if a licensing scheme were introduced, we would very much look to have planning permission as a requirement for the licensing scheme as well, and that would then bring all current and future properties within the scope of that. At the moment, a change of use wouldn't be applicable retrospectively, so it would only be new properties coming forward that then fall within that definition.
Thank you, Lara. So the license, the actual license would trigger that that as well, wouldn't it? So that would be interested. So is it Paul Barnes who could answer the question about the do planning speak to the rates, the business rates, not domestic rates? Oh, both actually. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, BRYS, good morning, everybody. Yes, there is conversations between the business rates team and also council tax and the planning teams, and we tend to work on a case-by-case basis. Most of the involvement comes through the valuation office, so the valuation office are a key partner within this, and they would normally do the assessment on the sites to deem whether properties fell within council tax or fell within NNDR, so it fell within the business rates, and that would be determined, and we have close working relationship with both those parties in regards to council tax teams, business rates teams, valuation office and planning.
Okay, so we have a guarantee that planning are talking to everybody. Once they give planning to an application to do with holiday accommodation, it comes to you guys as well, yeah?
Yeah, we have conversations and we're looking to constantly strengthen those links.
Thank you, Paul. We've got Steve Gadd. Thank you.
But yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Paul. Do you want to come back? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was just making sure that it's key that the valuation office play an absolute key part in this, and ultimately we will work on the advice of the valuation office. So sometimes we'll get contact from customers or members, but actually what we find is the fact that we're not the decision-making body around that process. The decision-making body is the valuation office.
Thank you, Paul. Great, thanks. Steve, do you want to come in?
Sorry, I just wanted to make that same point about the valuation office being independent to the council. It's completely separate. So we work with them, but they are completely separate. They're a government agency.
But we do report on planning, as Paul's just said.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Paul. Brian Blakely, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, reading this letter that we got from the Welsh Assembly Government, I know it's not completely up to date, but reading some of these letters that's come through from Pembrokeshire regarding the loss of housing due to holiday lets, it would be wrong of me, being the homeless champion in Denbighshire, to not bring this up. Looking at these properties that are being used during the summer, of course, are standing empty during the winter. And of course, we're losing revenue as well from this. And it concerns me that we've got so many people homeless in Denbighshire, that we could be using these properties also, that a lot of our younger people are not able to get on the housing ladder due to this. And we're losing a lot of them, they're moving away. Have we got any answers to these? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Laura, do you want to, sorry to
Yeah, no, I can come back on that one. Thank you, Chair. As officers, we share your frustrations, members, I think. You know, the purpose of this report was to report on what planning regulations are available currently. And the answer is, unfortunately, there aren't many things we can do through planning specifically to do this. Hopefully new powers will be introduced in the future, and certainly ourselves, public protection, valuations, council tax, we're all going to be working together to try and improve the situation. As we say, it's a balance between, you know, tourism's a major contributor to Denbighshire's economy, but we need to balance that, as you say, with making sure that there's sufficient and appropriate housing for our local people, and particularly our young people. So I think, you know, there's a balance to be struck there, but currently in planning terms, unfortunately, it doesn't fall within the definition of development or change of use, and so we have no powers to control it through planning.
Thank you, Laura. Had a conversation last week with my accountant, who's got a house, second home, on the Menai Straits, and he's paying 300% council tax. He never had a problem with that, and I know we're charging 1.5%, yeah, 150%. So what he was saying, he's happy to pay the 300%, but he would like to see that 300% go to some sort of help the people who are trying to get onto the ladder, not just thrown in the pot so we can go and tarmac a bit of some potholes in GWAHODDIR, even though we need more tools fixing in GWAHODDIR. And I know Steve's got his hand up. Steve, do you want to answer that, please?
Diolch. I probably declare an interest that I actually live in GWAHODDIR, so thanks for that example. And there are some potholes. Yeah, I mean, the way to do the council tax is unhypothecated, and it's really important that we keep to that. So it's an unhypothecated tax that is used to fund all our council services. Obviously, it doesn't pay for all of it. We only get 25% of our income from council tax. So you wouldn't earmark an element of it. What you could do at the same time is look to invest in a particular area at the same time as increasing council tax on 300% on second homes. What you can't do is then tie up a future council to make a different decision. So you can't hypothecate it. There is no way of doing that to tie up any future decision-making body. As a council, this council, you can make a decision to put money into a particular area, and that's fine. You can do that with the, taking into account the additional funding that we may receive from introducing an increased council tax on second homes, but we wouldn't be tied into it in future councils. So that's just the sort of legal position on council tax.
Thank you, Steve. I just thought I'd highlight it, but thank you for your comments. I've got Leah Gray. I think my eyesight's not that great, and I'm looking.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chair. It was just to clarify that the 300% premium for second homes doesn't actually come into effect until April 2023. So at present, the maximum is 100% that we could charge. So in effect, a 200% charge. So I just wanted to clarify that. And at the moment, no decision has been made or reports being created to confirm whether Denbighshire would look to increase that.
Okay, thank you for that information. So are we charging 150 now, just or not?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yeah, and I was talking about Anglesey, not Denbighshire. Sorry, thanks. Councillor Mervyn Parry, who's probably no. Mervyn, he's there. Councillor, who's sorry, is he?
Martin Hogg.
Martin Hogg, he's not on this.
No.
Oh, sorry, I take my eyesight's not that. Who we got now? Nobody. Any more questions from the committee? Gartreffi Jones.
Oeddech chi'n sôn ynglyn â bod ni'n aros am yr ymgynghoriad o Llywodraeth Cymru ynglyn â'r hawliau cynllunio, ond mae'r hawliau trwyddedi a bod y broses o bod angen cael trwyddedau ar gyfer. Ydy hynny'n rhywbeth y bysa yr gyngor sydd ddim bach yn gallu edrych arno fo ar wahân, y bysa ni'n gallu datblygu systemau rhan bod rhaid i'r tai gwyliau y fewn sydd ddim bach gael ei trwyddedi? Ydy hynny'n rhywbeth fedrwn ni'n neud yn ar wahân?
Any takers on that? Angela, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Just to say that that's also part of the Welsh Government consultation or the separate arm of the consultation. So again, that will be something we'll be hearing back about in the future, but I'm just not sure exactly when. And then that will be something that will be reported back.
O'n i jyst yn meddwl os oedd yr hawliau cynllunio ddim yn cael ei newid a fydda hynny'n rhywbeth y byddwn ni'n gallu osod i gyngor sydd ddim bech yn annibynnol edrych arno fo ar gyfer y sir.
Okay, is that something, you know, if Welsh Government don't come back with anything positive, is it something what we as a council can look into? And I'm sure it is, yeah. And Angela?
I don't think we'll have the powers to do that unilaterally, but it's certainly something we can look into. I think there's, you know, I'm quite confident that Welsh Government will be looking to introduce a package of measures. It's just we're not sure exactly what they're going to be, and when they're going to come in. So we'll
results, and then we can decide which way we want to go after that. If that's Steve, are you happy with that, Steve? God. Yeah, good, thank you. Right, deleting apus, pawb yn apus o yma. I've got some speakers outside, and Rhian, please.
I think it was Emrys first.
Emrys, cynghorydd Emrys Wyn, yn siarad Gymraeg, diolch Emrys.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Cadarnhau bod chi'n clywed, dwi'n meddwl bod chi. Ie, diolch am y cyflwyniadau. Mae hwn o fater o ddiddordeb personol i mi, a dwi'n mi bwysleisio mae siarad ar ran fy hun fel aelod lleol yn Rhuthun ydw i rwan, nid fel aelod o'r cabinet. Does gen i mor cyfrifoldeb am y maes yma yn fy portffolio bod gen i ddiddordeb wrth gwrs. Dim ond sylw ac ambell i gwestiwn, mae Lara di ateb yn yr rhannol, ond os gai gyfeirio sydyn at y gwahaniaeth, os gwelwch y dda, rhwng tŷ gwyliau a gael gartref. Yn bersonol, dwi'n gweld bod yna werth i dŷ gwyliau pe mae o'n cefnogi busnes enghraifft ffermio. Os ydy rhywun yn datblygu eiddo ar y fferm sydd ddim yn cael ei ddefnyddio bellach ac bod yn dod yn dŷ gwyliau, allai weld werth iddo mwyn cadw'r y busnes ymlaen ar y fferm, a hefyd, wrth gwrs, o ddiddordeb personol i mi ydy bod o'n cynnal ac efallai teulu yn y gymuned, a efallai fydd rheini'n gallu cyfrannu sylweddol at addysg ac ati yn gyffredinol. Dyna un bwysig, gwahaniaeth os gwelwch yn dda rhwng tŷ gwyliau a gael gartref. O ran trethu, os ydy'n busnes, treth busnes. Os nad yw fusnes, mae'r drafodaeth ydy'n iawn i fod yn dreth domestig. Y broblem efo treth fusnes ydy bod yna gymaint o bobl yn gallu peidio thalu yma. Felly mae yna rôl lwpol mawr fan angen i lenwi. Oes yna gynlluniau naill llai yn yr gyfraith fydd yn dod yn y maes y law mwyn cau y lwpol hwnnw, os gwelwch yn dda. Ond be fyswn i yn dymuno weld ydy, mewn pentre, os oes du yn wag, bod hwnnw ar gael i deulu, i unigolion felly mynd yno ac i fyw a bod yn rhan parhaol o'r gymuned honno. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Emrys. Andrew, will you take the first bit, and Paul Barnes, maybe, if I've got the right guy, on the second, how to explain the Airbnbs and how many days it's allowed to be and all that. Yeah. Angela?
So the question was about the difference between second homes and holiday lets, and the potential benefit of holiday homes in terms of tourism and so on. A second home, according to the definition for council tax purposes, is a dwelling which is not a person's sole or main home, as in is substantially furnished. Short-term holiday let is where a property is let for the purposes of a holiday only, so the guest would have a main home elsewhere, and the let is short-term. So I think that's the sort of strict definition. I hope that helps to explain. But yes, I think that, you know, a lot's been already mentioned about the balance between these and the fact that holiday lets can contribute to the community, can't they? They in terms of economic input and helping farmers trying to diversify and all those kind of things as well. So there can be a benefit, whereas perhaps not the same benefit of second homes. I think that was there anything I've missed there, Councillor Wynne?
Just the nature of the taxes, council tax versus NNDR.
Hang on, can I just stop you for a minute? Lara had a hand up. Lara, did you want to add to that before we bring Paul Barnes in?
No, I was just saying I was willing to respond on it, but Angela's covered it.
I was being kind to you, I was not Lara, Angela for a change. So Paul, can you explain how many days an Airbnb has to run before it becomes a business and what it has to pay domestic rates until that time?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Leah to come in. Leah's the expert within the operational service on the number of days and explain the difference. The legislation, the consultation has been out with from Welsh Government to extend those number of days. So Leah will kindly pick that up to explain the difference between that. I think it's also to point out, go back to what Steve and myself were trying to make earlier, is that a lot of the evaluation of whether a property fits within a second home or long-term empty or into a business, again, is out of our gift and is down to the valuation office. They will make that assessment and that determination on whether the property should sit within business rates or within domestic rates. So that again is often out of our gift, but hopefully that answers that element. Leah, would you be able to just clarify the time frame for us, please?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of council tax, a holiday home and a second home has the same criteria, and every property will initially go into the council tax list regardless of whether it's a holiday home or used for domestic purposes. The homeowner or the owner of the holiday home has to apply themselves to the valuation office to have the property moved into non-domestic rates. That's not something that we would partake in. So currently, the valuation office would ask the owner to evidence that the property was available to let for 140 days a year or more, and has to actually have been let for 70 days or more in a year. From April 2023, this will increase. So the holiday home will have to be available to let for 252 days a year, and it has to have actually been let for 182 days a year. So that is increasing significantly. So we will see, I think, more properties coming back from non-domestic rates back into the council tax listing. And obviously we will see less properties moving over from council tax into non-domestic.
Thank you. That is
Just a quick response. Can I just ask, does that therefore close the loophole which at the moment it allows people who pay the business rates to have exemption under certain circumstances?
I think
sorry, Councillor Wynne, sorry, it will ultimately reduce the loophole. It won't completely close it. I think that the more substantial holiday lets, if you like, will obviously continue to be in non-domestic rates. What they are looking at doing, and they have concerns as well, is so the reason why holiday homes don't actually pay anything when they're in non-domestic rates is because of the small business rate relief. And Welsh Government are actually consulting on removing small business rate relief for holiday homes. Ultimately, that money goes to Welsh Government and not to Denbighshire Council, but we do get a percentage of that back to us, and that's just another thing that Welsh Government are looking at to help with the sort of increase in second homes.
Thank you, Leah, for the clarification. Thank you.
And Leah, that information I think is a game changer. What you've said there, you know, I think we look forward to 2023 on these changes coming in. That is the game change, which is going to put these houses back in our rates, and obviously not as attractive to people who are letting them out. I've got another. Yeah. Oh, sorry, John's put his hand up. Thanks, John.
Sorry, thank you very much. I'd just like to add there's a simple solution to all this, which I've been very pleased to see since I've become a Denbighshire County Councillor, and that's that the council increases its social housing stock. I'd love to see a dramatic increase in the social housing stock across the county, you know, in villages, in small towns and so on. And that's a different solution to what the Welsh Government is sort of the direction it's taking here, I think, and I think that should be the overriding solution to it, to be quite honest with you.
Thank you, John. Don't think there was more of a statement than the question, but thank you. And the next is Martin Hogg.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just to clarify something really, because there does seem to be sort of a lot of alarm about this 300% council tax rise and the 182-day requirement to let out. So is the aim really of this planning requirement change to sort of allow this 300% council tax increase to be fairer and sort of try and filter out cases where it is perhaps unfair? I think we've been contacted by someone in the tourism industry, and they're flagging up these kind of examples, like where you have a remote farm who've converted some outbuildings into accommodation, and are now faced with potentially this being unviable, whereas it's not necessarily affecting the housing situation. So is the aim of this planning requirement change to sort of make the application of those council tax increases fairer, and to sort of, you know, would it put the tourism industry's mind at rest that it's not going to be a kind of blanket increase that will affect some people unfairly? And as the chair, I think, had pointed out, does it seek specifically to balance the fairness of this?
I'm going to try and answer that really as a chair, which we've been listening to this. One, it's not 300%. It's 150 within Denbighshire. It's not trying to penalise the tourism industry at all. It's about getting what's fair. We've just heard of Leah what is changing in 2023 to 250 days. Any legitimate business will be full for 250 days. It's the people who are within the loophole, who are taking houses up in towns. This is my view. That's who we're trying to target. We're trying to make houses more attractive to our youngsters, so people can stop in the communities and get what's fair and what's right for the people of Denbighshire. So I don't think there's no end game. It's just been fair, and the legitimate businesses will not be affected. And you know, we mustn't forget we welcome tourism in Denbighshire, and you know, without them, you know, a lot of us would struggle. So I don't think it is. There's no agenda, no hidden agenda. We're just trying to be what's right for everybody. Steve, do you want to add to that? So?
No, thanks, Chair. Diolch, Chair. I was just going to add, just on the 300%, it's actually legally it starts in April 23 when we can charge the 300% if we want, but it's a decision for each council to make. Now, any decision would have to be approved by council. So if there are any proposals to move away from the 150, we can keep to the 150, but if there are any proposals, it will come through the normal decision-making processes and people will have input into it. So just to make that clear, we obviously need a position because the freedom to, or the ability to charge the 300% only comes in April 23. So up to now, we haven't been able to charge the 300. We haven't maxed out because we could charge 200, so we're only charging 150 at the moment. And at the time we made that decision, we felt that was a balance. And again, we'll look at that and bring reports through the decision-making process if there's a will to look at it again with this additional freedom that we'll have from April 23. So just to be clear about that 300%.
Thank you, Steve. Right, so we'll move on swiftly to the recommendation. It's on page 37. Item 3, recommendation is 3.1, let members comment on the contents of the report. 3.2, agree to receive an update report when the results of the Welsh Government's consultations are received and published. Is that, yeah, Brian, Karen, thank you. All in agreement? All in agreement. Great. Can I thank Angela and Laura, Paul Barnes and Leah, and if I've missed anybody, I do apologise. But great, it was an interesting debate, quite a good debate I thought, and fingers crossed what the Welsh Government will come with some positive news to us in Denbighshire. So thank you. Right, swiftly moving on to agenda item 8, and if Rhian's ready. Diolch, Rhian.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Ie, dyma'r rhaglen waith arferol chi, ond neu gymryd chydig mwy amser na arferol ar hon bore yma, oherwydd mae nifer aelodau yma sydd yn newydd i'r Pwyllgor. Mae'r adroddiad yma'n dod i chi bob cyfarfod, a'r pwriad ydy bod chi'n edrych ar eich rhaglen waith i wneud yn siŵr bod hi yn gyfredol, nad oes neb arall yn edrych ar yr un pynciau, a hefyd bod y pethau ydych chi'n fel sy'n bwysig i chi fel Pwyllgor yn cael ei delio hefo nhw. Yn atodiad 1 sydd ar dudalen 67, mae'r rhaglen waith y Pwyllgor, mae'r rhaglen waith yma, rhaglen ydych chi wedi i derbyn o'r Pwyllgor oedd o'ch blaen chi. Felly, mae yma i chi rwan edrych arni hi. Mae'ch cyfarfod nesaf chi mis Medi, ac ar hyn o bryd mae yna 2 eitem eitha sylweddol ar y rhaglen waith yna, ynglyn â'r dolydd blodau gwyllt a hefyd gwaith sy'n mynd i fynd yn ei flaen yn RHYL a prestatyn i atal llifogydd oddi wrth y môr. So fydd heina'n 2 eitem eitha sylweddol. Rheini onoch chi oedd yn yr hyfforddiant craffu, mi gofiwch bod ni yn deud na 4 eitem ar y mwyaf dyn ni yn ei awgrymu ar gyfer unrhyw bwyllgor yn mwyn i chi gael trafodaeth fanwl ar y pynciau hynny. Hefyd yn yr hyfforddiant, mi eithon ni drwy'r y broses, os liciwch chi, o gael eitem ar agenda craffu, sef llenwi'r ffurflennau sydd yn atodiad 2. Mae'r ffurflen yna wedyn yn mynd i'r grŵp cadeiryddion ac is-gadeiryddion craffu, sydd yn edrych ar y pwnc ac yn gweld ydi o angen craffu arno fo, craffu ydy'r lle gorau i edrych arno fo. Hefyd, os da ydyn nhw'n meddwl bod craffu ydy'r lle'r gorau, wrach na yn fater eitha lleol ma'n ofyn i'r grŵp aelodau ardal edrych arno fo. Unrhyw broblemau, unrhyw help ydych chi eisiau fo honne, mae'n egroesio chi gysylltu fo fi ar unrhyw bryd. Rwan mi oedd y grŵp Cadeiryddion Craffu fod i gyfarfod pnawn yma, ond dyn ni wedi gohirio'r cyfarfod neu am fis, mwyn gysio bod yna gadeirydd ag is-gadeirydd i bob pwyllgor, a hefyd i'r pwyllgor llywodraethu corfforaethol a'r pwyllgor gwasanaethau democrataidd, oherwydd bod nhw hefyd yn eistedd ar y grŵp yna. Wedyn mwyn cael pawb o gwmpas y bwrdd ar gyfer wneud penderfyniadau, fydd hwnna ddim yn cyfarfod am fis arall. So felly, os ysgynnwch chi'r eitem, ydych chi'n meddwl, ydych chi'n licio fo ddod i craffu, llenwch y ffurflen i mewn, gyrwch i mi, a wedyn mi gynnwn ni ddigon amser wedyn i roedi o'i blaenau nhw ymhen y mis. Da chi wedi adio 2 eitem bore yma, un ar gyfer tua blwyddyn i rwan ar gwaith yn yr RHYL, a'r eitem ddwytha yna, na i siarad hefo Angela i weld pryd yn union maen nhw'n disgwyl cael ymateb y Llywodraeth i'r ymgynghoriad dwytha yna, fel fedrwn ni raglennu honna i fewn. Ond wneith i ymddangos rwan ar eich rhaglen waith chi. Os a fedrwn ni gael dyddiad rwan, wneith i ymddangos yna fel eitem ar gyfer y dyfodol. So nawn ni mwy cholli hi. Yn atodiad 3, mae rhaglen waith y cabinet i chi. Mae hwnna'n gwybodaeth i chi, mwyn i chi weld be'n union. Mae nhw'n edrych arno fo yn y cyfarfodydd nesaf, a rhag ofn bod chi'n meddwl bod eitem y fanau ddylai ddod i craffu cyn i cabinet i hystyrieddu. A wedyn, yn atodiad 4, mae'n dabl sy'n diweddaru'r pwyllgor ar beth sydd wedi digwydd ar ôl i argymhellion nhw yn y cyfarfod dwytha. Fydd honnau'n ymddangos bob tro hefyd. Be dyn ni fuon ni'n wneud yn y cyngor dwytha, oedd diwrnod neu 2 cyn y cyfarfod, fydden ni'n cael cyd gyfarfod o'r pwyllgor cyfan, mwyn edrych ar yr eitemau fyddech chi yn ei trafod, a trio dod i fyny efo strategaeth ar gyfer cwestiynau, pa faterion o fewn yr adroddiadau neu chi eisiau rhoi canolbwyntio'n fanwl arnyn nhw, a trio dod â chydig o gwestiynau'n barod ymlaen llaw, fel fedrwch chi fynd iddyn nhw a bod yn eitha strategol yn y cyfarfod. Rwan, mae hwnna'n rhywbeth fedrwn ni atgyfodi os ydych chi'n teimlo bod o ddefnydd i chi. A be fysa ni'n neud, fysa cynnal hwnnw ar Teams, ddwrnod neu 2 cyn y cyfarfod. Cyfarfod tyfraid o fod ddim mwy na hanner awr, ond jyst i pawb hel i meddyliau at ei gilydd.
Weithiau dyn ni wedi bod yn neud rhyw hanner awr cyn y cyfarfod. Mae hanner awr cyn y cyfarfod i fi weithio lot well, cos diolch yn mynd fewn i diwrnod arall.
Y broblem wwan efo hynny ydy bod ni'n neud o bell, a wedyn, fedrwn ni'n neud o fan hyn, achos mae rhaid setio fama i fyny'n barod ar gyfer y prif gyfarfod. A dyn ni rhedeg risg wedyn, fydd rhai bobl wrach yn clicio ar y link anghywir ar gyfer y pwyllgor llawn.
Cos yr unig rei sy'n gael dod i hwnna ydy pobl sy'n ar y pwyllgor. So, medrwn ni trafod hwnna, dwi'n bod beth ydych chi'n meddwl. Dyn ni'n gyd yn brysur. Gawn ni just parcio hwnna am rwan? Di'n iawn? Di'n iawn? Fi ydych
y grŵp cadeiryddion trafod os ydych chi isio. Ond mae'r pwyllgor perfformiad i benderfynu yn chydig ddyddiau cynt. Ond ydy na mae hynny'n iawn. Fydd e'n swyddogion yn y cyfarfod yna?
Just ni.
Just o ran, os ydych chi'n paratoi cwestiynau cynt, ydy pwy fydd yna yn ystod y cyfarfod i beth i'n rhoi yn atebion.
Na, yr un, dyn ni'n gwybod cyn.
Fydden ni'n rhoi y prif gwestiynau iddyn os oes yr ei mawr, a wedyn fydden nhw gen yr atebion ar eich cyfer chi ar y bore hwnnw.
Fel arfer, dwi'n chwarae efo RHAN ar is-gadeirydd rwan.
Chydig
dyddiau. A wedyn weithiau, dyn ni'n meddwl, dyn ni eisiau mwy o manylion gen rhywun arall. Dyn ni eisiau mapiau. So, dyn ni, ond digon haws i chi darllen y droddiad sy'n dod o flaen ni. A
Fedrwch chi adfod gyrru cwestiynau i mi, a wedyn fedra i gael nhw i'r swyddogion, fel bod gennyn nhw'r atebion cynhwysfer i chi ar y diwrnod mewn ffordd.
Os felly, efallai fos y cyfarfod just cyn y cyfarfod yn gweithio ar amseru, felly.
Ie, y broblem fydd y dechnoleg.
If mae'n iawn efo chi, na i mynd efo i'r grŵp cadeirydd is-gadeirydd, wedyn nawn ni trafod o fanna a dod nôl, ond dyn ni gweithio yn gilydd fel yma. So, Rhian, dwi'n meddwl bod ni'n hapus i cymryd be mae Rhian di roi yn ymlaen ni heddiw. dwi wedi pasio fo fel is-gadeirydd, cadeirydd, yn y pwyllgor cynt. So, da ni'n tynnu lot o bethau allan, dim pob peth yn dod i fewn i fyma. So,
a hefyd, mi allan eitem arall ar gyfer mis Medi ar ôl y grŵp cadeiryddion yn y mis. Mae'n dibynnu be fydd nhw wedi cael ei ystyried. So, ond ar hyn o bryd, mae'n ddwy eitem. Mae'n ddwy eitem eitha sylweddol, neu wedi gyrhonau ar yr prosiectau yn yr RHYL a prestatyn o ran llifogydd. Felly...
Pawb yn apus yna?
Iawn. A hefyd, eisiau un peth rhan gofyd eithaf chi ydy, fel arfer, mae'n eitem arall ar eich agenda chi sydd yn golygu am y teitl ydy Feedback from Committee Representatives on Council Boards and Groups. Mi fyddwch chi yn y man yn cael eich enwebu i fynd ar fyrddau eraill ar ran y pwyllgor yma. A wedyn dyna'r cyfle chi wedyn i adrodd yn ôl i'r pwyllgor yma ar be mae'r byrddau neu'r grŵp eraill mae wedi bod yn ei drafod a ydych chi'n hapus hefo beth sy'n mynd ymlaen neu os ydych chi'n teimlo bod chi ddim, ond mae'n bosib wedyn codi'r peth i fyny sylw craffu.
Ond sy'n ni'n licio, ydych chi'n methu mynd i beth sy'n gael yn ddwyio?
Ie, i'r bwrdd yma.
Jyst gadael fi gwybod, ac allai fe drai mynd yn eich lle chi, cos mae'n bwysig bod ni gen rhywun yna, so please just gadael ni gwybod ydych chi ddim methu, mae'n bwysig. Dwi'n meddwl, na ni, ie? There's neb with llaw in it. Great. Lovely. Can I thank everybody for the first community meeting? Again, congratulations to Karen on becoming the Vice Chair. Can I thank RHAN? Without RHAN, things wouldn't happen in this picture. Steph, a translator, Steve Gadd, who's patiently sitting there, keeping us all in check. So, diolch yn fawr iawn, a nawn ni weld chi yn y cyfarfod nesaf. Okay, diolch. Thank you very much. Diolch.